Good morning, University of Rizal System Pililla Campus, most especially to our future teachers headed by the Dean of the College of Education, Dr. Juliet Santo Tomas Folgado. I would like to acknowledge the FEES organization, the Future Educators of English Society, headed by its president, Charles Daniel P. Bautista. Thank you for inviting me to speak about revisiting the past, exploring the present, and anticipating the future through reading and literature. A pleasant morning, everyone. I am Hazel Angeline Tesoro, master teacher at Baras Senior High School and a PhD applied linguistics student at the Philippine Normal University, Manila. So, without further ado, let me head you over to my talk. But first of all, let me ask you, how does reading help you revisit the past, explore the present, and anticipate the future? For one, it starts at home where we get to know first where we came from our families, where we are taught to explore the world around us, and where we are trained to be ready for the future. Children are made readers on the laps of their parents. It really begins at home. So we should not forget that the children that are made readers are the hope of the future. And it is not only the parents that have this responsibility of making readers out of their children or out of these kids, but the same responsibility goes out to teachers or daycare workers as well, because they are the people who serve as the second parents of these kids or these students right after they leave home from school. We also have household members who spend so much time with our children at home. And moving on to that responsibility of creating readers, we connect that to the idea that reading allows us to revisit the past through reading and literature, and that it brings us back to our roots. Through literature, we can travel back in time, and according to Daniel Borstein, by reading, we discover our world, our history, and ourselves. And through that, as we travel back in time, we discover and revisit our ancestors and learn about life in the world from those who came before us. Also, we get to learn to appreciate the culture and the life at the time. We can gain a better perspective on things. And that is why we accomplish this through connecting what we learn to social economic context as well as historical context. Also, manuscripts and speeches and oral traditions from then teach us a lot about history, and that is also part of literature. Reading also has a lot in store for us readers, because there is a plethora of reading materials that are available in print format and even in digital format. Also, we get to places, or we get to visit places we haven't been to yet. Characters are met. We meet people, animals, inanimate objects that we haven't seen or met yet. And we get to know and we get to learn about eras and periods we don't know of yet. Now, exploring the present brings us to where we are today, and reading gives us some place to go when we have to stay where we just are. Reading when we can travel for free because we can reach places that we haven't been to, and we are just sitting where we are right now and reading the material that are at our fingertips. We can go places even without lifting a finger. There are even audio books that allow us to listen to books and other materials being read without actually using our eyes. And there have been a lot of studies already that considers audiobooks as equal to reading as well. With the help of technology, most especially AI or artificial intelligence, we get to enjoy the same pleasure of reading a physical book on our devices at our own comfort, like what we see in these photos. Even when we are in transit or doing something else like house chores, hitting the gym, driving, or just spending our time at the park, we can listen to audiobooks. There are even books that allow us to see a 3D replica of things with the power of augmented reality or AR that adds a sensory experience to readers. So reading does not limit us and does not only allow us to sit in one place, but it opens a lot of doors for us. It teaches us a lot and gives us a view of things. It doesn't only give us the power to imagine, but it empowers us to do more and be better. Because the more we read, the more knowledge we gain. And according to Stephen Hawking, nothing is better than reading and gaining more and more knowledge. You see, it doesn't matter which kind of material you will be reading. You need not to purchase the grandest of gadgets just for you to get to start reading. And you need not to buy the most expensive of books, but you can actually start anywhere. But if there is a thing such as a hate of reading, Frank Serafini believes that there's no such thing, no, but there are only children who have not found yet the right book. You can actually start anywhere. You can start from anywhere for as long as it interests you. That's how reading works magic for us. I actually found helpful tips for teachers and parents, and that's how to help a teen choose a book. This is from Read Right Think in 2020. First up, you have to ask a librarian or a teacher for recommendations on which reading material you can start reading. And then you might want to go to the blogs and look into recommendations of other people apart from a teacher or a librarian. Because when you go to blogs, you get to reflect or you get to relate with other people's perspective, people who might be the same age as you. And because you can tailor the blogs that you visit to the genres that you prefer to read. Third is to peruse. You have to peruse the aisles of your library or bookstores. And now that we are heading back to face-to-face interactions, and now that restrictions have been somewhat lifted already, we can now have that comfort of visiting actual bookstores or actual libraries and take a look into the books, no, and have a physical touch of them so that we can have a direct feel of what it is really like holding a book and then choosing which one to read first or to read next if we are already into reading. Next is to find out what books your teen has enjoyed in the past, and that is getting to know what that teenager or what that kid is interested in. Most especially, we have to be specific on the genre or on the title or the themes that make the reader interested to read. And of course, we can check out graphic novels. We can start with books with lesser text and that are heavier on the images. And also, I would like to share this technique if you would like to finish a lot of books in a short time. You can start out with graphic novels, yeah, and then you can also choose to read poetry books for that matter, because poetry books are quite shorter than novels, and you can even finish one in just a sitting. And last but not least, for our advice for teachers and parents to help a teen choose a book is to address the problems with the book. So you may want to recommend books that will have to address one problem. Say if a teenager has problem with his or her mental health, if the teenager has a problem with connecting to people or building relationships, adults like us can recommend materials to these young people so that they can start reading in the interest that that reading material will help them solve their problem. So moving on, we also have advantages in social interaction when we read, because it is an exercise in empathy, an exercise in walking in someone else's shoes for a while. And the more literate we become, it is not only the opportunities that come our way that we are after, but it is the relationships that we build. No, there are connections that we can build, and reading can be conversation starters as well. So if we want to strike a conversation with a person by asking them what's their favorite book, what's their favorite genre, who's their favorite author, and things like that, no? And the more literate we become, the more opportunities come our way, yes, the more opportunities we find, whether online, in print, and the more chances that we're able to grab and to improve our learning and to develop our personality, as well as, of course, increase our knowledge on specific topics that interest us. And that is why we anticipate the future through reading and literature, and not only in preparation, like for us since I'm a teacher in senior high school, I prepare students for the world to come after senior high, that once they graduate, they can choose to study in college, and then they can go out and build their own business, and they can even enter the workforce. So apart from that, reading will help them ace their chosen fields, and that is anticipating, letting them or teaching them anticipate the future through reading and literature. So with the knowledge that we gain more, and we know the more we know about the world, because according to Dr. Seuss, the more that you read, the more things you will know, the more things that you learn, the more places that you go. So we cannot deny that the more we read, yes, the more literate we become. So the more books that we read on different genres, it's also one thing if we get to try different genres, not only the ones that we are comfortable reading. Also, I would like to recommend them to read, for you to read books that are not popular. You can also read books that are popular and compare these materials. There are materials that are popular just because people are picked by them, people are intrigued by what's the theme inside these books. But there are other underrated books as well. No, there are books that are not popular but have great quality and could teach you a lot of lessons as well. We are not always after recommendations that are good, but we can also get to try books that we can discover on our own. So going back to Dr. Seuss, and with the more knowledge that we gain and the more things we learn about the world, the more that we are not fooled by what we are seeing, what's being fed to us, what's being presented to us, because we're educated enough to discern which is right and which is wrong. And that counts for media and information literacy as well, because all these things are connected: reading, literature, the media, and how we are being fed by these information. So we have to be literate. And you cannot be media and information literate if you don't know how to read. And because there's always an idea beyond what's presented to us, and that's what we have to discern. So now moving on to my favorite quote from A Game of Thrones. Is my favorite character, Tyrion Lannister. My mind is my weapon. A mind needs books as a sword needs a whetstone, if it is to keep its edge. If you are educated enough, we are equipped, we have this weapon, we are equipped with the information that we need for us to be able to judge which is correct and which is not right, which is wrong, which is moral and immoral, and so on. The more we read, the more we empower our minds, and we can be prepared of what's to come, what the future holds for us. And as some books can be doors to the future, some of them can even predict what might happen. And you can even look up some of these online. There are a lot of books that may have predicted, and other experts say that have already predicted the future. And because, reading, aside from it predicting the future, it's also an exercise for the mind, for it to become a weapon that we can use. It's an exercise to the brain, and it's like, if we can take a physical exercise to the body, we can take reading as a brain exercise. So, and with that, I'm ending this talk with a quote, which I think is an album art or something, no? If you're reading this, it is not too late. Like for me, who only loved reading after college. So all you need is a book. All you need is a reading material. You need not a library to do that, but all you need to have is that heart that wants to start the love for reading. And with that, happy National Reading Month to everyone who's watching this video, and kickstart your journey to reading. And if you're already into reading, then you might want to tag along your friends and encourage them to reading. And together, let us all make a community of readers. Thank you very much, and have a great day, everyone. Keep safe. Thank you, URS Pililia.